Most people will never build the life they dream of. Not because they lack the desire, but because they have been taught to fight the wrong battle. They try to force their will upon the world, and the world always pushes back. But true discipline isn't about force. It's about letting go of what you can't control. We carry invisible chains. They are forged in the fires of our own desires, our fears, our anxieties about what might be and what has been. We feel their weight every time we whisper to ourselves, "In the dark, this time will be different." Every time we set a new goal, promise to start a new habit, or swear to break an old one, we feel the familiar heavy pull of these chains. We think the answer is to pull harder, to find more motivation, to grit our teeth and become stronger. But what if the path to freedom, to the kind of self-discipline that lasts, isn't about breaking the chains? What if it's about simply seeing them for what they are and letting them fall to the ground? This is not a journey of hyper-motivation. There will be no shouting. This is a quiet journey inward, a journey back to the part of you that was never chained to begin with. Asterisk there is a promise you make to yourself, perhaps late at night when the world is finally quiet. It's a moment of absolute clarity. You see the person you could be. You see the life you could live. You map it all out. Tomorrow, you will wake up early. You will not look at your phone. You will exercise. You will eat well. You will be patient with your family, focused at your work. You will write the first page of that book. You will not drink. You will not fall back into the same old patterns. Tonight, you are the architect of a new life, and the feeling is clean, pure, and full of power. And then tomorrow comes. The alarm feels like a violation. The warmth of the bed feels like a siren's call. The phone is in your hand before you even realize it. A stressful email, a difficult conversation, a moment of boredom. And suddenly, the blueprint from last night seems like a fantasy, a dream you had in another life. By the end of the week, you are standing in the exact same place you started. And a cold, familiar feeling settles in your chest. It's not just disappointment. It's a shame. A voice, your own voice, begins to whisper, "You're weak, you're lazy, you have no willpower. You just don't have what it takes." This is the cycle. This is the war between your highest aspirations and your daily actions. It is exhausting. It is a lonely battle fought entirely inside your own mind, and every loss makes the next fight harder. You feel stuck, trapped in a loop of your own making. But what if that voice is wrong? What if the failure has nothing to do with weakness? The Roman philosopher Seneca once wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." We suffer more in imagination. The story we tell ourselves about our failure is often more painful than the failure itself. We aren't fighting an enemy, we are fighting shadows. Our own shadows. Imagine your mind is a vast empty room, an echoing chamber. Every time you break a promise to yourself, the sound of that failure doesn't just disappear. It hits a wall and bounces back. "I failed." The echo returns, a little distorted. "You failed." It bounces again. "You always fail." And again. "You are a failure." Soon, the room is so full of these deafening echoes, these ghosts of past attempts, that it's impossible to hear anything else. It's impossible to hear the quiet, calm voice that made the promise in the first place. You become convinced that the echoes are the truth. Think of that moment, the one where you give in. You're sitting in your car in the driveway after a long day. You promised yourself you'd go to the gym. You can see it in your mind. But the thought of the effort, the energy it will take, it feels impossible. You watch someone else walk through the gym doors full of purpose, and you feel a mix of envy and a deep, cutting self-reproach. And in that moment, you surrender. You turn the key in the ignition and drive home. It's not a dramatic failure. It's a quiet, invisible one. but it's the one that hurts the most. What if the reason you can't change isn't weakness? What if you're just standing in a room full of echoes, believing they are real? The goal isn't to shout over the noise. The goal is to let the echoes fade, to find the silence. Let's move from the sharp pain of self-blame to a simple, weary curiosity. Let's ask a new question. Not, what is wrong with me? But, what if I've been looking at this all wrong? There's a constant low-grade hum of anxiety in modern life. It's the feeling that you have to manage everything. You have to manage your boss's perception of you. You have to manage the tone of that email you're about to send. You have to manage what your friends think of your new partner, what your family thinks of your career choices. You have to manage the traffic, the stock market, your health, the algorithm. Life feels like standing on the shore, trying to hold back the ocean with your bare hands. You are always braced for the next wave, always trying to anticipate and control. A world that is, by its very nature, uncontrollable. To live this way is the definition of quiet desperation. It's the deep, draining feeling of powerlessness when all your effort, all your worry, all your careful planning still ends in a result you didn't want. You feel cheated. You feel exhausted. The first step out of this chaos, the very foundation of inner peace and discipline, comes from a former slave who became one of history's most influential thinkers. Epictetus taught a principle so simple, it sounds almost too easy, yet so profound, it can change everything. He taught the dichotomy of control. He said that in this life, some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us. That's it. That is the entire secret. What is up to us? Our thoughts, our judgments about what happens, our choices, the effort we put in, our actions, our character. This is our kingdom. It is the only thing we truly own. What is not up to us? Everything else, the outcome of our efforts, other people's opinions, our reputation, our health, the weather, the past, the future. This is the domain of the universe. It is not our business. That true self-discipline is not about forcing the outside world to bend to your will. It is about achieving absolute mastery over your own inner world. Think of yourself as a gardener. You stand on your small patch of land. You cannot control the sun, the rain, or the sudden frost that threatens to kill your seedlings. You cannot control the birds that might eat your seeds or the blight that might creep in from a neighbor's plot. If you focus on controlling the weather, you will live a life of constant frustration and despair. But what can you control? You can control the tilling of the soil. You can control the quality of the seeds you choose to plant. You can control the care with which you pull the weeds each morning. You can control the dedication of your work. The wise gardener finds their peace, their purpose, not in the size of the final harvest, but in the dignity of their daily labor. Their discipline is found in the work itself, regardless of what the sky decides to do. Have you ever found yourself refreshing your phone again and again? Checking your email, your messages, a social media post, waiting for that notification, that reply, that like, that will tell you that you are good enough, that your work was seen, that you are valued. Feel that knot in your stomach as you wait. That is the feeling of placing your happiness in someone else's hands. That is the feeling of trying to garden the weather. What would it feel like to let that go? To gently, without judgment, withdraw your energy from the things you cannot change? It's like putting down a heavy bag you didn't even realize you were carrying. Your shoulders relax. You can finally breathe. The frantic tension of trying to manage everything dissolves into the calm, quiet focus of managing the one thing that has always been yours to command, your own response. This is the ground on which we will build everything else. First, you must know your ground. What is yours to control and what is not? Where does your garden end and the wild forest begin? Sooner or later, the plan will break. The life you so carefully designed will be met with a reality you did not choose. A project you poured your soul into fails. A relationship you thought was your future ends. An opportunity you were counting on vanishes. Sickness arrives uninvited. This is not a possibility. It is an inevitability. And in that moment, a deep and bitter conflict begins. We fight against what has happened. We waste so much precious energy arguing with reality, replaying the past, lost in a fog of what if and if only. This resistance creates a deep-seated frustration, a feeling that life is unfair, that the universe is actively working against us. It's the emotional equivalent of trying to swim up a waterfall. It is exhausting, and it will break you. You can feel it as a tightness in your jaw, a bitterness at the back of your throat. It is the poison of resentment. There's a Stoic idea, later given its most famous name by the philosopher Nietzsche, that offers a radical antidote. It's the principle of Amor Fati, a Latin phrase that means a love of one's fate. This is not a passive acceptance. It's not just gritting your teeth and tolerating what has happened. It is an active, willing embrace. It is the choice to say, this thing that has happened, this thing I did not want or ask for, is now my path. I will not just accept it. I will love it. I will use it. The great Roman emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. He saw every event, even the painful and frustrating ones, as if they were a prescription from a wise doctor. You might not like the taste of the medicine, but you know it is exactly what you need for your healing. A disciplined mind doesn't just tolerate reality. It learns to work with it, to find purpose and even a strange beauty in it. It sees every event, good or bad, as raw material. Imagine you are a blacksmith. A villager comes to you and hands you a twisted, ugly piece of scrap. Iron. It's bent, it's rusted, it's not what you would have chosen. This is the event. This is your fate. You can complain about the metal. You can curse the villager. You can refuse to work with it. Or you can see the potential hidden within the ugliness. You accept the iron. You put it into the fire. This is the fire of your acceptance. You let it become malleable. Then you place it on the anvil and begin to strike. Your hammer is your will, your actions, your choices. You cannot change the fundamental nature of the metal, but you can shape it. You can turn the useless piece of scrap into a horseshoe, a nail, a blade. You can turn the obstacle into a tool. The very thing that was meant to stop you becomes the material for your next creation. Have you ever looked at an old photograph? A picture from a time in your life you remember as perfect, before things went wrong. Do you feel that pang of loss? That ache for a past you can never get back? That feeling is the resistance. It is the refusal to love the fate you have now. In this moment, what if you could look at the rubble of your past plans not as a tragedy, but as a quarry full of stones to build your future? The emotional shift is from resentful resistance to empowered acceptance, from being a victim of your life to becoming its architect. We stop seeing life as something that happens to us and begin to see it as something we work with. The bitterness fades, replaced by a calm, creative focus. You are the blacksmith. Life has just handed you your next piece of iron. Now, what will you make? Our best laid plans are often incredibly fragile. Our discipline is brittle. Why? Because we are destroyed by surprise. It's rarely the huge catastrophes that throw us completely off course. It's the small, unexpected annoyances. You plan a perfect morning of deep work, but you're woken up by loud construction next door. You commit to a healthy diet, but you arrive at a work lunch where the only option is pizza. You promise to be more patient, and your first interaction of the day is with a rude driver who cuts you off in traffic. Because we live in a state of quiet, unexamined optimism, we expect our path to be smooth. So when these small things happen, they don't feel small. They feel like personal attacks. They feel like a sign that the universe is conspiring against our attempts to improve. Our resolve shatters, our discipline breaks, and we say, "I'll try again tomorrow." We are so easily discouraged because we are so easily shocked. The Stoics had a powerful practice to combat this fragility. It came from Seneca, who advised that we should regularly practice premeditatio malorum, which translates to the premeditation of evils. This is not pessimism. It is not about dwelling on negativity or manifesting failure. It is a calm, rational, strategic foresight. It is the act of sitting down in a quiet moment and calmly imagining all the things that could go wrong. Imagine your day, the project you're working on. What if the file gets corrupted? The presentation you have to give? What if the projector fails? The difficult conversation you need to have? What if the other person gets angry? The new habit you're building? What if you get sick? What if you lose your motivation? By mentally rehearsing these potential adversities in a calm state, we strip them of their greatest weapon, the power of surprise. When they do happen, and some of them will, our reaction is not one of shock and panic. It's a quiet recognition. Ah, yes, I thought this might happen. I am prepared. Think of a sea captain. A good captain does not simply hope for a calm sea. A good captain prepares for a storm. Before the ship even leaves the harbor, the captain has walked the deck. They have checked the lifeboats. They have studied the maps and planned alternate routes. They have trained the crew for emergency drills until the response is automatic. When the sky darkens and the waves begin to swell, there is no fear in the captain's eyes. There is no panic. There's only focus. There's only the execution of a plan that was made long ago in the calm of the harbor. The discipline of the captain and the crew holds steady, not because they are stronger than the storm, but because they have already faced the storm 100 times in their minds. Do you remember a time when your entire day was ruined by one small, negative event in the morning? A short email, a critical comment. That single, unexpected moment poisoned the next 8, 10, 12 hours. Why? Because you were emotionally unprepared for it. The small wave capsized your tiny boat. What would it feel like to be the sea captain of your own life? To know that you have already anticipated the squalls and are ready to navigate them. The emotional shift is from a brittle, fragile optimism to a deep, quiet confidence. The gnawing fear of the unknown is replaced by a sense of preparedness. You are no longer hoping for the best. You are ready for anything. And this readiness, this inner calm in the face of chaos, is a form of discipline that cannot be shaken. You stand in your watchtower, you see the storm coming on the horizon, and you are not afraid. You are ready. The world is loud. It is a constant flood of noise. The demands of work, the anxieties of family, the endless stream of information, the anger and fear in the news, the emotional chaos of other people, it all seeps in. We start to feel porous. We feel easily affected, our mood swinging with every notification, every comment, every headline. We lose our sense of a stable center. Our inner peace becomes a hostage to external events. The struggle is the deep, unsettling feeling of having no safe place to retreat to. No part of you that is untouched by the world's turmoil. This is why, for the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, perhaps the most powerful man in the world, the most important practice was not about conquering lands, but about conquering the self. His central theme was the building of what he called the Inner Citadel. He wrote in his journal, to himself, "People try to get away from it all, to the country, to the beach, to the mountains. But you can get away from it all anytime you like, by going within. Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." Think about that. You can retreat into yourself at any moment. This inner fortress of reason, of judgment, of calm, it is always available to you. It is your birthright. Self-discipline, in the Stoic sense, is the conscious act of building, reinforcing, and regularly visiting this citadel. It is the work of making your own soul a place you want to retreat to, so that no matter what happens outside, no matter the battle, the betrayal, the loss, the chaos, your core remains secure and sovereign. The metaphor is a fortress, a great stone citadel standing on a hill. Outside its walls, the world can be in flames. Armies can be clashing, plagues can be raging, storms can be tearing the landscape apart. But inside the walls of the citadel, there is order. There is peace. There is a quiet well of fresh water that never runs dry. What are the walls of this fortress built from? They are built from your principles, from your understanding of what you can and cannot control. Its guards are your rational judgments, standing watch, deciding what is allowed to enter your mind and what is not. Its wellspring is your unshakable character. Discipline is the daily maintenance of these walls. Every time you choose to respond with calm instead of anger, you add a stone to the wall. Every time you choose to focus on your own actions instead of the outcomes, you reinforce the gate. Do you know that feeling? Lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, replaying every conversation, every mistake, every worry from the day. Your mind is racing, and you can't switch it off. That is the feeling of being mentally homeless, of having no shelter from your own thoughts, let alone the world's. What if you could, in that moment, close your eyes and walk through the gates of your own inner citadel? What if you could find a quiet courtyard inside yourself and just sit? The emotional shift is from feeling exposed, porous, and vulnerable to feeling secure, centered, and whole. The chaotic noise of the world doesn't disappear, but it fades into the background. It cannot breach the walls. You transition from being a leaf blown about by the wind of your environment to being the mountain that the wind blows against. You discover a peace that is not a luxury dependent on a quiet world, but a fortress you built yourself and can enter anytime you wish. There's a unique kind of despair that comes when you are stopped dead in your tracks. You are on a path. You are building momentum. You are practicing your discipline. And then an obstacle appears. It can be huge or small. A sudden lack of money, a person who actively works against you, a piece of technology that fails, or most painfully, a personal failing, a relapse into an old, bad habit. The immediate feeling is one of paralysis, frustration, despair. We see the obstacle as the end of the road. We believe our path is now permanently blocked, and all the discipline we were so carefully trying to build crumbles into dust because the perfect plan has been broken. We stare at the giant boulder in our path and we simply give up. This is where one of the most powerful and transformative ideas in all of Stoic philosophy comes to our aid. It's a phrase you can find woven throughout the writings of Marcus Aurelius, who learned it from his teachers. He said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Let that sink in. What stands in the way becomes the way. A disciplined mind does not see the obstacle as a barrier. It sees it as a new path. It does not waste energy trying to go around the obstacle. It finds the hidden opportunity within the obstacle itself. The problem is not something to be solved so that you can get back to your work. The problem is your work. The problem contains its own solution. The metaphor for this is a river. Think of a powerful river flowing through a landscape. The river does not hope for an easy journey. It simply moves with the force of its own nature. When the river encounters a giant boulder in its path, it does not stop. It does not complain. It does not despair. It yields. It flows over the boulder. It flows around the boulder. It finds the cracks and crevices and pushes through them. And over thousands of years, it is the persistent, yielding, steady force of the river that wears the hard, unmoving boulder down to smooth stone. The boulder, the very thing that stood in the river's way, forces the river to deepen its own channel, to carve a new path, to become stronger and more powerful. The obstacle made the river what it is. Have you ever received a rejection from a job, a school, a person? That immediate, crushing feeling of a door slammed shut. Your mind sees only the end of that one specific path. You feel the paralysis, the frustration. You see only the boulder. But what if that rejection is not a door slamming shut, but the universe forcibly rerouting you? What if the job you didn't get saves you from a toxic boss? What if the person who left you makes room for the person who is meant for you? What if the failure of your first business contains the exact lesson you need to succeed at your second? The emotional shift is from a state of frustrated paralysis to one of creative resourcefulness. All the energy we were wasting by pushing our shoulder against the immovable boulder is now channeled into a new, more intelligent direction. We stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" And we start asking, "How can I use this?" You transform from feeling like a victim of your circumstances to feeling like an alchemist, capable of turning the lead of failure into the gold of opportunity. The obstacle is not in your way. The obstacle is your way. There's a deep addiction in our culture. It is an addiction to the outcome. We tie our motivation, our happiness, and even our self-worth to a result that is, as we now know, outside of our direct control. The promotion at work, the number on the bathroom scale, the number of views on a video, the amount of money in the bank. We practice our discipline for these things. And when the results don't come quickly enough, or when they don't come at all, our motivation evaporates. The discipline suddenly feels pointless, useless. Why bother eating well if the scale doesn't move? Why bother doing good work if no one recognizes it? Why bother being a good person if the world doesn't reward you for it? This makes our efforts incredibly fragile. It makes our commitment dependent on constant external validation. The Stoics offered a profound liberation from this trap. They taught that we must shift our focus entirely, move it from the outcome, which is external and never guaranteed, to the process, which is internal and always within our control. The Stoics argued that virtue, or what we might call excellence of character, is the sole good. The reward for doing the right thing is doing the right thing. The reward for acting with discipline is the person you become by acting with discipline. The satisfaction must be found in the action itself, not in the fruits of the action. Think of it as an eternal flame burning within you, a small, steady pilot light. The goal of your life is not to use this flame to reach a certain destination or to win a certain prize. The goal of your life is simply to keep the flame from going out. Every disciplined act is another drop of oil that you add to the lamp. Every workout you do when you don't feel like it. Every page you write when you have no inspiration. Every time you choose to be patient when you want to be angry, you are feeding the flame. The purpose of the discipline is the discipline itself. It is an internal fire that warms you and gives you light. Regardless of how cold or dark the world outside becomes. Think about that feeling. You step on the scale after a week of perfect eating and hard exercise, and the number hasn't budged. Or worse, it's gone up. In that moment, you feel the familiar crushing wave of despair. The voice that says, "See? It's not working. Just give up. Why bother?" That is the voice of outcome addiction. But what if the number on the scale was never the point? What if the point was the strength you built by choosing the healthy meal over the easy one? What if the point was the resilience you cultivated by lacing up your shoes and going for a run when you were tired? What if you already received the reward? The reward was the act itself. The emotional shift here is one of the most freeing of all. We move from being a hungry ghost, always seeking the next meal of praise, results, or validation, to being a self-sustaining source of our own purpose. You stop looking outside of yourself for a reason to keep going. The reason is inside. It is the quiet, powerful satisfaction of tending to your own flame. And that is a source of energy that never runs out. Most of us live our lives on autopilot. Have you ever noticed this? We move through our days reacting, not responding. We are driven by forces we don't understand. Unconscious habits, hidden beliefs, unexamined emotions. We find ourselves snapping at someone we love, and we don't know why. We find ourselves procrastinating on the work that matters most to us, and we can't explain it. We indulge in a habit we know is hurting us, almost as if we are watching someone else do it. There's a painful, frustrating gap between the person we intend to be and the person who actually shows up day after day. It's a feeling of being a stranger to yourself. Discipline is impossible without awareness. You cannot fix a problem you cannot see. This is why the Stoics, from Seneca to Marcus Aurelius, were obsessed with the practice of self-reflection. For many of them, this took the form of a daily philosophical journal, a review of the day. This wasn't a dear diary of events. It was a rigorous and honest self-examination. Seneca described his evening routine. He would bring himself to the court of his own mind and act as his own judge. He would ask himself, what ailment of yours have you cured today? What fault have you resisted? In what way are you better? This is the act of holding up a mirror to your own soul. It isn't about harsh self-criticism or shame. It is about honest, compassionate, and clear-eyed observation. The metaphor is a simple mirror. At the end of the day, you stand before it. You do not look with vanity to admire yourself. You do not look with disgust to condemn yourself. You simply look to see what is there. You see the smudge of anger left over from a morning argument. You see the lines of anxiety carved by worries about the future. You see the residue of the day's compromises and small failures. The mirror does not judge you. It does not condemn you. It simply reflects what is true. And only with that clear reflection can you begin the work. You can take a cloth and gently wipe away the smudge of anger. You can take a breath and try to soften the lines of anxiety. You can see where you went off course so that tomorrow you might navigate a little better. Have you ever gotten to the end of a long day and realized with a jolt that you've been in a terrible mood for hours and you have absolutely no idea why? It's a deeply unsettling feeling. The feeling of being a passenger in your own life, driven by mysterious inner currents. The practice of reflection is how you become the driver. You learn to read your own internal weather patterns. You begin to understand your own triggers, your own weaknesses, your own strengths. The emotional shift is from a life of unconscious reactivity to one of conscious intentionality. The uncomfortable tension of self-ignorance gives way to the calm clarity of self-knowledge. You are no longer a stranger to yourself. You are slowly, patiently becoming your own friend. And you cannot lead a life of discipline if you are not first a friend to yourself. Our world is built for comfort. Everything in our life is designed to eliminate friction, to remove struggle. We have food delivered to our door, entertainment, being to our screens, and cars that carry us everywhere. We seek the easiest path, the most comfortable chair, the fastest gratification, and this has made us soft. Dangerously soft, because real life, is not comfortable. It is full of friction. It involves hardship and pain. And when genuine, unavoidable difficulty arrives, a health crisis, a financial loss, a deep betrayal, we are utterly unprepared to handle it. Our discipline, which seemed so strong when things were easy, breaks at the first sign of real pressure. It shatters because our tolerance for any kind of discomfort has become incredibly low. We are afraid of the cold, of hunger, of effort, of pain. And this fear rules us. The Stoics knew this. They saw this weakness in the luxurious Roman society around them. And they had a powerful antidote: the practice of voluntary discomfort. Philosophers like Seneca and Cato the Younger would intentionally, and regularly practice hardship. They would choose to wear simple, uncomfortable clothes in the cold. They would eat plain, basic food for a few days, or sometimes just bread and water. They would choose to sleep on the hard floor instead of their comfortable beds. The point was not to punish themselves. It was to train themselves. It was to build their resilience. By choosing to embrace small, controlled doses of discomfort, they were inoculating themselves against the fear of future misfortune. They were teaching their own minds a vital lesson. I can endure this. This is not the end of the world. I am stronger than my craving for comfort. The perfect metaphor for this practice is a vaccine. A vaccine works by introducing a tiny, weakened, or dead version of a virus into your body. It's not enough to make you truly sick, but it's enough to trigger a response. Your body learns to recognize the threat and builds the antibodies, the defenses, the resilience needed to defeat the real disease if it should ever arrive. Voluntary discomfort is a vaccine for the soul. Taking a cold shower is a vaccine against the fear of physical shock. Fasting for a day is a vaccine against the fear of hunger. Sleeping on the floor is a vaccine against the fear of losing your material comforts. You are deliberately teaching your body and your mind that you can handle more than you think. Think of that moment, right before you step into a cold shower, that deep hesitation, the internal negotiation, the long list of excuses your mind instantly generates, all to avoid a few moments of discomfort. That tiny daily battle is a microcosm of our entire relationship with hardship. We will do almost anything to avoid it. But what if you stepped in anyway? What happens after 30 seconds? The shock fades. Your body adapts. You feel alive, energized, and clear-headed. But most importantly, you feel a quiet pride. You just did something difficult, on purpose. You proved to yourself that you are in charge, not your fleeting desire for comfort. The emotional shift is from a life governed by the fear of pain to a life powered by a growing sense of resilience. We stop seeing hardship as something to be, avoid it at all costs, and start seeing it as a training ground. The dread of discomfort is slowly replaced by a quiet confidence in our own toughness. You realize that you are not made of glass. You are made of something much, much stronger. For this entire journey, we have been working on the ground. We have been examining the soil, pulling the weeds, reinforcing the walls of our fortress. But our focus has been close. We have been looking at our own lives, our habits, our problems, our anxieties, as if through a microscope. And when you look at something through a microscope, it appears enormous, all-consuming. The small failure at work becomes a catastrophe. The argument with a partner becomes a sign that the relationship is doomed. The broken diet becomes proof that you will never change. This close-up view creates immense pressure. It makes our personal struggles feel like the center of the entire universe. And it is this pressure that makes discipline feel like such a heavy, impossible burden. Now we are ready for the final transformational shift in perspective. It is a practice that Marcus Aurelius returned to again and again in his meditations. He called it taking the view from above. It is the ultimate release. It is a mental exercise, an act of imagination. In a quiet moment, I want you to try this. Begin by seeing yourself right now in the room where you are. Then zoom out. See your building, your street, your neighborhood. See the entire city or town laid out below you, a grid of lights and moving cars. Zoom out further. See your country, a shape on a map, with its mountains and rivers and coastlines. Zoom out again until you see the entire planet Earth, a beautiful, silent, blue and white marble hanging in the blackness of space. There you are, a tiny, invisible speck on the surface of that sphere. But don't stop there. Zoom out further. See the solar system. The Earth becomes a small point of light, circling a star of average size. Further still. See our solar system become a single lost speck in the vast swirling spiral of the Milky Way galaxy, with its 100 billion stars. And then, the final step. See our galaxy become just one point of light in a cosmic web of billions and billions of other galaxies, stretching out into an emptiness so vast it is beyond our comprehension. Now, from this vantage point, from this silent cosmic emptiness, look back at your problem. The one that was causing you so much stress this morning, the habit you broke, the project that failed, the fear that was gripping your heart. Where is it now? How big is it from here? From this view, you can also look back through time. You can see the entire pageant of human history. The rise and fall of the Roman Empire, the building of the pyramids, the countless wars and loves and births and deaths of billions of people who lived and breathed and struggled, just like you. Each one of them felt that their problems were the center of the universe, and now they are all gone. They are dust. Their anxieties have vanished into the silence of eternity. The metaphor is the view from a mountaintop. After a long, hard climb through the dense, dark forest of our daily struggles, where we can only see a few feet ahead, we finally break through the tree line. We reach the summit. And suddenly, we can see everything. We can see the entire landscape, laid out for miles below. The winding path we took, the obstacles we thought were insurmountable, they now appear as tiny, insignificant features in a vast, interconnected, and beautiful tapestry. The view from the mountaintop doesn't erase the problems. The boulder is still down there in the path, but it puts them in their proper context. It reveals their true size. Have you ever stood outside on a clear night, far from the city lights, and looked up at a sky overflowing with stars? Have you felt that sudden, shocking sense of awe? That humbling, breathtaking realization of your own smallness in the face of such immense, silent beauty? That feeling, that is the beginning of wisdom. This is the climax of our journey. This is the great emotional shift. It is a profound letting go. It is the shift from desperately trying to control everything, to surrendering to the flow of a reality much larger than ourselves. It is the shift from a clenched fist to an open hand. The obsessive, anxious focus on the self dissolves into a feeling of connection to something magnificent and eternal. And in that moment, the heavy burden of self-discipline is lifted. It is replaced not by laziness or apathy, but by a new sense of purpose, a purpose that is aligned not with your own small ego, but with the grand, mysterious flow of the cosmos itself. You finally realize that true, lasting discipline was never about forcing yourself into a rigid shape. It was always about aligning yourself with the truth of reality. It was about finding your small part in a very large dance and learning to play it with grace. The echoes in the chamber have faded. The fortress stands quiet, but it is not empty. It is filled with a new kind of silence, a silence born of strength, not of absence. The journey to find an ironclad self-discipline turns out not to be a war, but a homecoming. It is the slow, patient, and gentle work of clearing away the debris of fear, of false belief, and of a world that taught you to fight the wrong battle. It is the work of finding the person you have always been, underneath it all. The chains were never locked. You were always free to let them go. The door to the Inner Citadel was never barred. You could always walk inside. The path forward is not about becoming a perfect, unbreakable Stoic sage. It is not about a life without pain or failure. It is simply about meeting each moment just as it is, with the quiet confidence that you are equal to it. It is about remembering to look up at the stars. It is about learning to practice for the sake of the practice. To find the reward not in the result, but in the dignity of the effort. To tend to the flame, not for where it might lead you, but for the light and warmth it gives you, right here, right now. This is the discipline that no external event can ever break. A quiet dawn inside your own soul. Subscribe for more quiet journeys.